Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, we are going to try to get this G660 oiling a little bit better. It's oiling, it's not even leaking, but it's not producing enough oil to keep the bar and the chain lubricated as it's running. We're also going to talk about the problems that can cause by not having your chain lubed while you're running your chainsaw. Welcome to Man Time. Well, there is a couple things that are going to be detrimental to not having enough oil on your chain. Right? The first thing, and the most expensive thing, is right here, right? The oil pumps from the saw into the bar through this little hole right here, right? And then the chain picks up the oil and carries it, so it's oiling the chain as it's flowing through there, and then it carries throughout the bar and all over the chain. Now, when it's not doing that, what you're going to see is premature bar wear and premature chain wear. It's also not good on the saw because the saw is having to work harder to move a non-lubricated chain, through the bar. So you've got three things that are really going to start happening. You're going to get more heat in your bar, more heat in your chain, and ultimately more heat in your chainsaw. So a lot of bad things happening when you don't have enough oil coming out of your oiler right here. Let's see if we can get this off and figure out if we can get a little bit more oil flowing through this pump. Let's get it on the bench, get a nice close look at it. Yeah, this thing, if you missed that last video, go check it out, because this thing just absolutely woke up. It is cutting faster and stronger at the same time, with just that timing advance. And I don't know how many degrees. You can go back a couple videos if you want, and watch me do the timing advance to this thing. But yeah, just completely woke up. It's I don't want to say it's a different saw, but it's much different. Let me blow that out quick. Yeah, you always got to be a little bit careful, when you're blowing stuff out. It actually fits really nice. Okay, let's see what we got here. We're going to have to let's start by just taking some screws out here. I'm seeing 4 for this cover here. Let me get these removed and then we'll jump back in. Alright, well, you can get that plastic piece off of there. But I think we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper here. So let's take off all of the stuff for the clutch here. Making a point to blow all this stuff out. Bearing still looks great. Alright, next thing we need to do is get this clutch off of here. Now this is going to be a righty-loosey situation. But with a impact gun it makes it pretty easy. Go. Yeah, you never know which way that's going to pull, but typically it's going to pull on the pull rope one way or the other, so I just like to pull that pull rope out a little bit. And we'll blow this out again. Okay, and now we're right down to our oil pump here. Let's see, this we should be able to rotate and get that out. Amazing how all this gets so dirty on the inside and is able to maintain a fairly high success rate of being in operation, really. Alright, I don't know if I'm going to have to take this brake band out yet, and I'm still trying to get away with it without having to take the handle off, because Walt over there at A-Fleet Command, he made a really good point. Every time you pull one of these screws out of the plastic, you've got a chance that it is gonna pull that plastic, it's just plastic threads. Okay, we're leaking oil. it got loose there. Alright, so now we're going up. Yeah, my oil tank still has a bunch of oil in it. But there again, this was not, like, this wasn't wet in here. Meaning it wasn't leaking oil from anywhere it shouldn't have been. Oil is just seeping out of where it should be, which is in the oil tank there. So let me blow this off. There's a little rubber piece there. You don't want that to blow away, so hang on to that when you're blowing it off. Alright, well, here is the situation at hand. And just looking at this, so this is your piston moving back and forth, pumping the oil. And it's pumping it from here to here, right? Really rapidly back and forth. Well, you can see it right there. It's spitting a little bit. But what's happening, you've got a cam right here, and you've got another system here, just a diagonally cut piston that's moving back and forth on that cam. And as you adjust that cam, left, like counterclockwise, is less on these Stihls, and clockwise is more, opposite of what the Husqvarna is going to be. And there's very little adjustment there. And I've seen some people where they say that you can take something and pound a pin in to let this turn more. This unit does not have that. It's just a hard cast-in piece of the, housing. So I can see right now what's going to happen is that little plunger is going to have to come out of there, and I've got to find something small enough to pound that through there, and I don't think I have anything small enough, because there's no way to get the plunger out. Yeah, there's no way to get this plunger out without getting this out. So what's got to happen is this has got to come out, and I may have just enough room to get this in there. Let's see. Yeah, it's coming, just barely. This one has a little bit of a taper on it. We can get a little bit more with this. Yes, yes. Okay. Why aren't you coming out yet? I guess I'm not far enough. Yeah, this has got some play on it. So my little awl comes to the rescue. That is why you don't get it too much. Okay, so now let's see if we can wiggle this back and forth maybe to get it moving out of there. It looks like, yeah, it looks like it's coming free out of there. There we go. Okay, and then that plunger kind of popped there. So let's see here. Maybe there's something I'm missing on here. Yeah, see, so this isn't moving as far as it could be. So right here, you've got our wear pattern on this cam, and it is not being allowed to roll all the way over to get full engagement. Yeah. It's only rotating, so you got from the shallow side here, rotating to there, and that's where it's been residing, and it needs to go to here. So I can do two things, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to take this and grind this back a little bit, so this is allowed to rotate a little bit further, and actually we can look at it and see, right? So its farthest point is here, and that's just on this side of this. So I want to be able to move that into position with that. So that's going to be, oh boy, that's going to be like all the way over here. Like, so this cam wasn't allowed to roll all the way in. Let me mark this up a little bit. We can get a little bit closer to see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so I did a couple things here to like better illustrate, right? This cam lobe is, the highest point is right over here. And I've got that marked with a black Sharpie right there. So when this is in here, right, we want the cam to be facing directly this way. Right, so it's the farthest, or it's the closest to the piston. Right, and the piston is going to be turning around. You can see the angled spot right here. Right, it's farther in here and farther out here. And we want it to be riding on the maximum of the lobe to get the maximum amount of travel out of the piston. So there's a couple different things we can do here. I think we can do most of it with a file. But what we want is basically, we still want a hard stop, because otherwise it'll, I think we still want a hard stop. And basically what we want to do is have this hard stop further around, right? So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to file the hard stop back a little bit. And I was going to use my my Dremel, but this is just, you know, cheap cast aluminum. It files real easy. And then I'm also going to file back this piece here, right? If we file this back at the same time we're filing that hard stop back, we should be able to get to the maximum on our cam. Well, I'm going to plug in the Fordham just because I can, and file this back, and we'll look at it once I get it filed up a little bit. All right, phase one of the operation is complete. So I took and I ground down right here. Let's just get up close and personal. Right there. So that was like kind of flat across that way, and I ground it down now to where it's at an angle right in there. And then this right here, I ground from being straight flush across there to now being angled back, right? And I've just been kind of eyeing it up as I'm going and making sure that when it gets, you know, seated back in there, this is going to bump up against that, and that is going to happen at the maximum amount of travel this lobe has right here, right? So this piece of lobe lines up directly over here, and that is going to be directly pointed toward now the piston. Alright, as for the piston, what I'm going to do to get more travel, so to get more travel out of the piston, we need to grind down the far spot a little bit. And I'm just going to use a hand file for that. So let me do that, and then I'll come back and show you what we've got here. We took and we ground down the low spot right here. Ground that down. Now I took the Fordham to it just a little bit, but I'm confident that's this whole thing is an upgrade you can do with just a little needle file, you know. So let's see. Let's go back to reassembly. First thing, this little washer right here, that is going to go inside. Okay. Yeah. All right, inside. We're going to put a little oil in there. So spring on the piston, and then piston in the housing. Okay. Now, put our pump back in. I guess this would be the driver for the pump. And we want it to sit up in between here. And to get it to go in there, there we go. It went And then now we're going to have to hold it while we punch this key back in there. Let's try that. Okay, it went in there. I mean, I felt it, you know, going in there. So, all right, oil. Let me tap this in there just a touch more. Get it flush, just like it was. All right, and now when we rotate this, we've got more room, right? It's pointing now. The main part of the lobe is pointing straight that way, and we don't want it to go too far. So that was pretty close, where it's almost not hitting that anymore. So I ground it back, and it's just barely catching right on the edge there. But we can check to see how we're doing here by the amount of movement that we're getting, and that looks like much more. And you can actually look down in there and see the lobe, you know, to see where you're at. So it's traveling much further now. So we should be good to go. I'm going to put a little bit of oil kind of on everything in here, just to keep it lubed up. Some oil on the end here, because that is actually a mating surface there. I've already got oil in here, and there's going to be oil in here. So, I think we're good to go. We just need to make sure we put this piece back on here, and that has alignment stuff there. Now, down in the saw here, I did blow this out, but of course it's got bar oil all in it. There's a little washer that goes, so there's a little washer that goes right up in here. We'll get that in there before we leak bar oil, and then I'm going to get this reassembled, and we'll see how we're oiling. Alright, man, fairly simple upgrade today, but very necessary and very helpful for the use and the life of the saw, right? We went through what happens when your chain is dry, and now we are going to test to see how much oil is coming out of there. Now, it was oiling, it just wasn't oiling enough, right? So we're going to be looking right here after I get it started up and we get this sprocket moving. We should see a bunch of oil pumping out of there. Yeah, much better. Much better. Man, this saw just seems to continue to get stronger. I'm not going to hold it up over stuff because it's just pouring oil out of there. So if you guys like these type of videos, make sure you give a thumbs up, subscribe, and hopefully you can get your Stihl oiling like it should. Again, this is just for the 066 660. Some of the other oilers, I think they've got a little pin you can push through there. But there again, you don't want to have it where it completely rotates around, right? You want it indexed on the lobe of that cam so you get the most travel. I think this is the right way to do it. So anyways, just as a I just got done cutting some huge slabs off of there trying out this saw in that new oiler mod. Just went and did a little health check here and refilled the fluids. Now it's almost a full tank of oil to a full tank of gas. So the oiler mod did work, and doing all those things what I did there, you can expect almost a full tank of oil to a tank of gas. So there you go. Get out there, have you some man time.